Well, folks, how the hell are yous? Welcome back to the workshop and to another new tool teardown video. And as promised, it is the new Makita nail gun we're going to be tearing down this evening. Now, before we get started on it, just want to give a big shout out and a thank you to all the YouTube members and patron members that actually helped fund this here video. That's their memberships is actually putting the money towards buying these new machines to actually tear down. But this one was a very expensive one to buy. So big shout out and a thank you to all of you who's actually helped fund this year. Now, we did do the DeWalt a few months ago, so a lot of the money went towards that. So I had to put a few hundred of new money on to buy this thing. But we don't mind doing that because I'm actually curious to know what this machine is going to be like myself. So this is a brand new, long anticipated Makita First Fix nail gun, the DBN900. Now, fair warnings to you is we'll go through some of the pros and cons of this thing initially and give it a wee test out. Then we'll start stripping the thing down. But first, what she's actually like. And I did test this thing out already. Put a few strips of nails through it, and it is a nice gun. It has a really nice feel here, and it does fire very, very well, I have to say. But we'll go through some of the negative points in this thing first of all before we even start off. First thing, the box. What was Makita thinking with this here box? Look at the size of it. This isn't a nail gun box. This is actually for a big Makita hammer, not a nail gun. I just use this here box just to cheap out basically. The same box for a hammer. You can tell from these here cutouts, and just put a different insert in to house this gun. It's way too big for any site. Nobody's going to be carting this thing around. Second thing is the price. Like I say, these things are not cheap. €700 this here thing cost to buy. And that's 700, as you see here. With a box, that's it. No batteries, no chargers, no nothing. €700. In other words, Makita are not pricing these things competitively at all. They are way over budget and way outside most people's price ranges for a First Fix nail gun. To put it in perspective, the new second generation Hikoki gun is around the same money, €700. But it comes with two 5-amp batteries, charger, and a decent box. So Makita basically are shit themselves in the foot with the price of this thing, to be quite honest. Now, the other disappointment or other bad thing about this is basically just the timing. They are very late into the game with this here thing. Other brands are onto their second generation. Makita are only just taking out their first. So I don't know what they were thinking on time-wise in this thing. Why it's so late, if they just didn't put the effort on or just went over time and over budget, I don't know. But she's way late to the actual market. This should have been out years ago, to be quite honest. But it's here now, and we're going to see what she's like. So I'll give her a wee test out here first. Before we do that, we'll just look through her. Rather the big massive box. Now, the gun itself, like I say, does actually feel quite nice. It is a fairly solid gun. Good magazine on it as well, an aluminium magazine. She's nice and smooth. The battery retainer too, she is on a floating battery retainer. So that there is going to be better in the long run for your batteries. They're not going to wear out the contacts as easily. She's got the joist hook and the belt hook, so you can use this either way. The other downside of this here gun is also going to be the weight. She is not light. I think it's 4.6 kilos this here gun weighs on its own without a battery. To put that into perspective, even the new DeWalt gun that we tested earlier on is around the same weight, but with a battery. Same as the Hikoki and the Milwaukees. They all come on around about the same sort of weight, 4.6, 4.7 kilos. But generally, that's with a 5-amp battery. This is about 4.6 kilos on its own. With the biggest battery, you're looking at about 5.5 or 5.6 kg. Very, very heavy. Now, if you're doing anything over head or chest height, you will know you're going to be using this here gun. Like I was saying, the magazine's quite nice in this, and it's nice the way she loads. I do like that there. Don't have to be even pressing the little release button here. You can just lift the magazine up any which way and snap it into place. That's quite nice for a start. Not bothered on the rafter hook, but at least it's not like the DeWalt one. It'll take your finger off and if you actually have to dismantle it. The probe on it is good and aggressive. It's nice and sharp. Don't know if it's as good as the Hikoki one, but still pretty good. Now, it doesn't have the wee lugs on top like the Hikoki does have that do have a tendency to break if they get dropped or something. This here's a wee bit more rugged looking. Decent plunger on it anyway. Does have an LED light at the front. Unlike the Cookie, it doesn't have the switch though that blinks whenever you're under the nails. Now she is 2 modes. She's bump and single shot. I've seen a lot of comments, people saying these don't have bump mode, but they do have bump mode. The spec in her, she's obviously shooting a 90mm nail, and these here types of gun can shoot a 90mm ring shank nail. The DeWalt ones technically can shoot a ring 90, but they're probably more suited to a twist shank 90. Now this here is working the exact same way as the Hikoki's and the Milwaukee guns and a few of the Senko ones, what they call an air spring inside. Basically, it's a small air tank that does not lose air. It's constantly pressurized. These are firing the pin, firing the nails with compressed air. So unlike the DeWalt gun, which is a mechanical system, it's actually throwing the pin and then 2 springs are returning the pin. These here are compressed air, firing the pin, and then it's a mechanical system then to ratchet the pin back again and recompress the already compressed air up even tighter. That's what's giving you the force to drive the nail. Really, really powerful. Very good system, especially on the Hikoki's. They're tried and tested now, and a lot of people really like it. The power of them, the reliability, unlike a pass load gun, where you're constantly having to get it serviced, they're cleaned and maintenance, the odd misfire, gas being out of date, been too cold. These here aren't having the same problem, or at least the Hikoki guns. This here is built on the same principle and should work the exact same way. But we'll have to see what she's like on the inside to see if it's the exact same as a Hikoki or not. Switching on. As simple as holding the button, and then you have mode selection then, which is just hold it for a second and switch it over. This here, I'll tell you, so far folks, I have zero information on these here Makita guns. I've actually rang Makita myself because I am a Makita agent too, to see the crack on them. No information at all yet. I was asking how to get them into maintenance mode. No idea what I'm talking about. I've asked them for the sheets, the repair manuals you can't sometimes get from Makita's. No idea yet. Asking about the revalve kit for regassing them. Didn't have a clue what I was talking about. These things are just out over here. Whenever I got this thing in, it was fresh on the market. The first ones coming onto the country. And Makita just had no clue about them just yet. We're Makita agents, you know. But since then, they said the valves are coming on, but we're not going to have them for a while yet. So after I dismantle this, I might not be able to test this thing again because I will not have the valve to repressurize this. We'll try jig away of repressurizing it, but if I don't have the valve, I might not be able to. So these things at the minute are just brand spanking new, and nobody has any information on them for dismantling. So this here is going to be completely new to me. So when I got this here thing, I obviously rated 2 funds to pay for it, but I had to throw a few hundred of my own money and to actually buy it. But not a big deal. I will actually use this gun myself a few times, but because I'm a Makita agent as well, it'll give me a wee bit of a head start any time these actually come on for repair. So we don't actually mind doing that. So give a wee test out here first. And the sound of these and the performance of them, I have to say, is quite nice. She runs and sounds basically just like the Hikoki or the Milwaukee one. We're going to bump mode then. Just hold on the trigger. What did I do? Did I jam it? Couldn't have jammed it that quick. You are joking. 2 bars shouldn't be affecting it. Try another one. 3 bars. Not a good start. Just like the DeWalt gun that was jamming up. No, it was the battery. So what was I using? A 4 amp old battery. 2 bars was down to, well, 2 bars on the actual drill. This one doesn't have an indicator on it. So you had a good size, fully charged battery. Mode. Yeah, Now it works no problem. Just see how fast you can actually go. Too fast. So you can't just go as fast as you like in this thing. But then again, that'll be the same as the cookie. Because of the way she's actually running, it has to get time to get the pan back again. If you're going to shoot before the pan's actually ratcheted the whole way back, the controller is going to realize it's going to shut it down basically. So they're a very good gun and single shot anyway, but if you're in bump mode, you can't just be going as quick as you like. There's a limit to the speed. One of the other things I did want to point out about this gun that I do like is that the way it sits. If you're using it on a site and you just want to set it down for a second, it can easily just sit there, especially facing straight down. You're just using it, want to drop her on the ground, you can put her down, she doesn't just fall over. Not many guns are actually that good at that, and it is a wee bit of an important feature. You want to be able to do that. Some of the other guns in the market, they're just very cumbersome and they fall over. The first generation Hikoki was a little bit like that. But I love the way this thing actually sits very easily, because I've been doing cladding with the DeWalt gun an awful lot, and in between shooting and you're putting the board on, trying to hold it, you want to just set it down so you can easily just pick it up and go again. So I like that there in this here Makita one. The weight of this thing is definitely a massive factor. It is good, but it's heavy. Like for odd jobs like that, where you're holding it out extended, you can really feel it. Right, that's enough of that. It's a nail gun, it's brand new, it's going to fire and it's going to sink the nail, so don't know what to really expect. Well, then again, you never know what you're going to expect, because we did do the review on this one a few months ago, and it was a big disappointment actually. Straight out of the box, this actually started jamming on me, and I can tell you as well, since then, I can definitely tell you these things are actually useless, these new DeWalt guns. This is the DBN900. Since the video, I actually lent this to my father-in-law, who does shepherd huts, wee cabins, you know, and he left his 2 DeWalt guns, because he has all DeWalt gear. He left his 2 DeWalt guns and for repair with myself, and I actually lent him this one as a loaner to keep him going whenever the other ones are getting fixed. Not something we do, I actually done that myself for him, so didn't tell him about the review or what they were like, just gave him the gun and thought, we'll see what he actually says about it. Now, he left it back around 2 days later, and he actually thanked me straight away to say thanks for lending him the gun. He really did appreciate getting a loan of it, but to take it back, it was absolutely useless. That's what he said to me. He actually said it's a good job it comes with the Allen key for opening, taking off the magazine, because you definitely do need it. He says it just jammed all the time for him, and I don't mean every couple of strips of nails it jammed up. It was jamming several times with every strip of nail. He says it was absolutely worthless. Couldn't waste your time on it. It was wasting more time taking off these bolts and taking away the magazine to knock the pan back in again. So I can tell you straight away, DeWalt guns, the new ones, these here, don't waste your time on them. At least this one did function. Now, the initial one was just the battery, wasn't actually fully charged, so that's why she jammed up in bump mode. So we'll get on with this here, see what she's like. So this, folks, is going to be all new. Obviously, if Makita can't tell me anything on this, I don't have any clue on it. So this is my first time unboxing or dismantling it. Straight away, 2 different size screws in this. Alright, that's for the wee plastic piece. Only 1 screw holds that on. It's not all that secure, is it? I would say I'll need to order a few of them things in if we sell them, because that's going to be breaking straight away. I need to be a wee bit more careful about how I dismantle this as well, because brand new, I have no idea how this goes back together again. a lot of different size screws with this, and I have to remember where they go. So 2 short ones for the magazine. You have to strip that down as well. It's a bit odd that there's actually 2 brass screws on this too. And it's nice the way the actual brass inserts do not just get onto the plastic. The wee brass inserts molded into the plastic. This one's for the magazine. Don't know what this one's for. Unless that is for the extendable magazine, for the longer one maybe. Not sure. But everything seems to have these wee brass inserts anyway. I think that'll be necessary, seeing as the plastic this is made from. The body on this too is PC, polycarbonate. So not really the best plastic for nail guns. You'd rather the nylon, the glass reinforcement, makes it a bit stronger and tougher. This I would say they just chose because it's a nicer finish basically. It's a wee bit more smoother because these are a big body to actually mold. You can see the actual, the wee shiny spots on it. It's very difficult to get a clean mold on it. You can see even more up here, look. The way the plastic actually goes through the mold. And it's very difficult to get a wee bit of shrinkage in the plastic from where it's cooling a wee bit too soon. So you get these sort of strain marks on it. It just leaves a mark on the plastic. The glass fiber or nylon one will be a little bit worse again, but that's a wee bit more textured. I think this they went with because basically just a nicer looking plastic. But functionality, it isn't going to be as strong, I don't think so. You really wouldn't want to be dropping this thing. Now some Makita tools, whenever you start dismantling them, the new ones that come out, you can tell straight away they're made in China basically. They're a cheaper version, you can tell by the screws. These ones here are the proper Makita screws. So they tell you straight away it's not just made in China. It is actually made in Japan. So this one's a proper made in Japan one. And a bit odd because this thing's actually basically banned in Japan as far as I'm aware. I've seen a couple of people putting up posts about it. The regulations in Japan are a little bit different, and the way this thing actually works, you technically need a gun license to use this in Japan. So this here mightn't even be allowed to be used on a Japanese building site. But I'm not 100% in that. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. But that's what I have been told. So she's built a little like the Koki. I think a few things are going to be similar to it. The Koki is very awkward to reassemble, especially the body part. I'm hoping this is going to be a little bit easier. So, not exactly the strongest body anyway. Down here's fine, but up here, she's a bit weak. I suppose that's mainly just from the size of it. Don't like that plastic. I would much rather the nylon. Big rubber bump here for actually supporting it. Wee inserts here for the likes of the switch, and then bumps here for your battery module. Right, so Makita's let the ball down twice here already. That there is where the gun is regassed. That is a terrible setup for a start. They don't have any way to access it without taking off the cover. So that's a bit of a disappointment and really annoying. The Koki have a wee separate screw and a part of the body that comes away to access the valve on the old gun. And on the new one, they have a wee screw on the back of the body here, and you can access the valve at the back of that. Very handy setup. So Makita have really dropped the ball on this one. They've been designing this for long enough, and they've been waiting to release it for long enough. You think they would have realized that by now. That's just going to be a torture. So every time you get one of these under regas, you have to open up the whole body for it. That's just going to be a torture, because I will be getting these on eventually to be regassed. Same as the other brands, Milwaukee and the Hikoki. The way these things actually work, they will eventually leak air and need to be repressurized. Milwaukee is a little bit more troublesome than the rest because they use nitrogen and nobody wants to deal with it. I know we've stopped looking at them, but the Milwaukee, the Hikoki one, you do need to get them regassed once in a while, and I have the valve for it, so it's not that big a deal. This is going to be a wee bit more troublesome or torture to open up to do. Basically, The reason for it, this here is basically a small air tank, and this is under constant pressure. So these are pressurized. That's why it has this wee warning label on it, and they're under constant pressure. So whenever you're pressurizing these, you put the pun forward up here, so it has maximum volume inside. You pressurize this through here to a set pressure. Then whenever you use the gun, then first thing it does is it drives the pun back and compresses all this even more. And that's the way the gun sits. So whenever the gun's not being used, like right now, the piston is all the way back and she's poised, ready to fire. So once this motor starts to move or rotate, she's going to shoot, release this here pin with all the pressure back here. So whenever they're not being used, the pin's back and this is under maximum pressure. So eventually some of that pressure is going to get out. So whenever you're using the gun and the nail starts being left sticking out, not being buried fully, you just need to go and get it re-gassed, repressurized. Not that big a deal, but for me anyway, service agent, that will be a big deal. I think they could have just put a little door up here to access that a little bit easier. So that's going to be a bit annoying to start. Inside of her, just initial little look. Big heavy controller on it. All aluminium as well. Nicely powdered on top. If this goes or your stator goes, you'll be replacing the gun. And imagine they're going to be very expensive. Same as most brushless tools. Now this is a brushless motor as well. Has to be. A brushed one is just not going to be powerful enough to do this here job. A replaceable switch, an arm-on switch. There's a little spring for your switch down in here. Or maybe this is just for the LED light or something like that. But you can actually replace this anyway, the actual trigger. And the switch, just 2 terminals onto it. There's sensors up on here with wires, big connectors as well. And then just a wee spring up here just for the probe. So that spring is actually hooking this here switch to. So this is the switch for your probe. It's actually nice that this is just a wee micro switch. I know the Koki one, it's a wee bit more rugged and beefier on top because the switches and sensors are actually built into the probe, which can be difficult to change if anything goes wrong with them. See this one, they're more on the outside. So there's a wee sensor here for picking up the magnet inside of this here cam wheel inside for actually driving the pin back. So whenever this here gets to a certain position, knowing where the pin stops, that's what actually stops the motor running. And this here wee switch here is just for the probe whenever you plunge it down. It's nice that they're actually just a wee micro switch, but a lot easier to change them. Same as this one. Right. First thing first, we need to get this depressurized. This is just going to be a cap on top. Oh. And that's why it's there, because a little bit of air will eventually escape from the wee valve inside. And just to make sure it doesn't just keep escaping, they have another wee screw on top to keep the pressure there. So this basically becomes pressurized as well and stops the rest getting out. Same as a Koki gun on that. And then behind there, you just have a little one-way valve, wee pico valve, wee tire valve basically. Don't know if that's replaceable or not. I know it is on the Koki gun. We have to find out from the breakdown diagram if you can buy that wee part. But to make the gun safe before you do anything, you need to depressurize it. So just press on that valve and get the air out. So now she's a dead duck. She ain't going to shoot, she's going to do squat. So we can work it safely, dismantle it, not have to worry about it shooting on us and taking a finger off. So inside, nice big wiring loom on it anyway. Just be careful because I don't know what anything is. So we've got the wee wiring loom for the light, I would imagine, the switch over here. I'll just pull that out of the way first. See if we get a grip on that. Take out the light too. Pull that out, pull that out. So the light was on first, then the switch, and then you have another wee sensor over here. Or not a sensor, sorry, this is the button to operate it. Pop them out. is that replaceable? It is. So that's a separate part as well. So if you break your buttons, and if they stop working on you, because these are just wee micro switches, you can just swap that out. You can swap out your switch, and you can swap out your light. And this wee sensor then, you can swap that out too, because she's just screwed on. So not too bad in that regards. And your other wee switch then, that's also replaceable. So this side is basically just the same as the last one. Wee rubber bump up in here for actually supporting everything. So the motor, same as the cookie. So it just slides out, two separate ones, but a lot easier to actually work on. Why is that so slack? Make this just be the way she's sitting. Yeah, so imagine this probably comes out that way. The pressure of the tank probably is pushing it back maybe. Or no, sure, it doesn't even have to be pressurized. The pin's going to be up here. This is just the front of the gun. So that's probably just to take out a play that would happen to be on it. So it's handy, the motor. The motor slides out nice and handy like the Hikoki. A little bit handier actually. Yeah. The Hikoki one has a metal housing for the gearbox. And up here. And the two have to actually slide together in a certain way, and there's two little plastic bumps that slide on too because they can, there's a lot of play in them. Wee plastic ones will take out the play, and it's wild difficult to get them in and line up the motor and put on the gearbox all at the same time. This one's just a lot easier. Right, what do we want at first here? Just take that out for a start and get rid of the wiring loom. And I have mostly Makita gear myself, so I probably will get a bit of use out of it if I ever need it. But I would say I'll probably just hold on to this. It might come in handy for other videos in the future. So, motor housing, just two separate halves. And then a nice brushless motor on it. Bearings, CHL bearing, 607 on the bottom. And a 608 on the top, NSK, so an Indonesian NSK one, metal shielded on the top, and a CHL on the bottom, so two decent bearings on it. The top one's more likely metal seal because it's up at the gearbox, shouldn't be getting too dirty. The bottom one's probably going to get more of the airflow, need a rubber seal on that one, better dust protection. Plastic body for that is just the proper nylon stuff, the PA6 glass fiber 30% reinforced. That's normally what you'd be getting tools made from. This here polycarbonate stuff, a little bit cheaper to actually manufacture. Probably that's why they went for it. But I just do not like that body all that much. I'd much rather it was made from standard PA6. The body on it for the motor is where you want the precision. And that is pretty precise. A little bit of sidewards play, but she seals up nicely the whole way around. If that's any way tweaked or twisted at all, the motor will actually, this is what centers the bearings. And if it tweaks over to one side at all, they'll rub inside. So you'll want that pretty exact. And that's a standard system. Makita actually using a lot of other tools, so try it and test it as well. Stator. Decent size, same as most of the Makita tools, like the nut guns and all, around about the same size. Board on the back of it with the wee Hall effect sensors on the bottom. Decent windings on it. Decent steel laminates. A nice enough stator, but it's not separate from the controller. So if this burns out or breaks, you're basically replacing the gun because you would have to buy it along with this here controller, which is not what you would want. This here is going to be the most expensive part. The controller itself is a hell of a nice one. All aluminium, so plenty of heat dissipation in this thing. And then your standard switch then, this arm run. This will be a lot of tools, but they're normally just a little bit different. So they might have a trigger on it. This one just has a plunge only, no trigger. and they might have wee connectors on them. They're all around about the same sort of money, between 20 or 35 euro. So that goes, you can easily replace it. And same for some of these wee bits here. These will not cost much, a couple of euro a piece. Maybe the wee switchboard might cost 10 or 15 euro, but not too bad. So controller's not the worst in the world. It would just be better if the stator was available separately. That is definitely the worst thing so far. On the outside, plus where you're putting your nails in, that's eventually going to have bother. And with only one screw, would say it's probably going to break up here somewhere and become loose or something like that. But again, probably not an expensive part. So this is where things are going to get a little bit more complicated. Get onto the gearbox here first. Two socket heads with a washer holding the gearbox on. And again, don't know which way this is going to come out. Right, that's a wee bit different. So the wee rubber or plastic boys I was talking about on the Hikoki, Makita also have, and they're inside of here. Right. Big gears there. Actual driver then. So this part is going to be that boy actually driving your pin, or driving it back. And this is just part off the gearbox. So these are the gears, final gear for actually driving it. This will be a wee bit awkward to actually rebuild. Twist that. Pull the plate out. Plastic packer. Holding these in. Big wash on the bottom, same as most. And then you've what's that? 2 gear reductions in. So your motor's driving these. And then they are turning this side, so yeah. Oh, right. I mean, that's just 3 gear reductions in. Those are driving this one. This one's driving these. Checked onto that one, and then they're driving this one. So the motor's going to be running very fast, but at the end of this is going to be running fairly slow, but with loads of torque. So that's where it's getting the power to actually drive the pin back. So this is a totally different setup. Not sure the purpose of this though. Is it meant to be like a clutch or a one-way lock? Sorry, right. So this one is simply to stop it going backwards. There's the brake. Tight fit. So that's basically just a brake. So whenever this is running, it should be turning that way. So all the rollers are going to the wide end. So it rotates no problem. So whenever the motor's running, she's just running this gear system no problem. And winding this forward, or wind it round to take the pin back. But if she goes the other way, it'll lock up. All the wee rollers will actually run down into the narrow side and jam up. So it won't actually let it move. So this is actually sit inside the housing. So if anything goes wrong, basically, the pressure on the pin being forced back can't actually turn this gearbox and turn the motor. So if this is sitting up a long time, this guarantees that the pin doesn't come halfway down or something. It's just a wee fail safe on the gun. So that's a nice wee feature. We'll leave that wee bit together for now. Actually, we'll just rebuild it for now because that could be torture to put back together. Yeah, so these are 2 different sizes. The thick ones are going to be for the heavier gears. Steel washer is going to be holding pins in. Taking them right, doing it this way anyway. That's not going to work. Do that again without the outside ring. Awkward, because if you do this wrong, you're going to drop out all them pins again. That on, and then this on. That's an awkward enough setup. It can be hard to actually set these things on. Whenever the gears are in place. That's on that side. They're all fitting in there. Actually goes together quite easily. That was in there. And then this was on top. Right. Leave that for now. On top of here, another steel plate or aluminium plate. I hope all these socket heads are the same. I haven't been keeping track. No, just a little sensor. Right, no, can't take it out just yet. It does just pull off, but the teeth are still against the pin. So I can't take that off until I take the back chamber off. Just stick that on there again, just to make sure it draws and drop out. It goes off easy enough because it already started to separate. And this is your wee valve inside. One-way valve for pressurizing it. Like I say, this is just the same as a normal car or bike tire or something. Wouldn't be a big deal to change it, but I would imagine they should have that available as a separate part if it does fail, or if it does start to leak. It'll be a special tool that goes on and actually fits under the bottom. Down in there, it just actually just unscrews. There's only a small valve. And here, we have a big O-ring, which is actually shaped to this. And your piston. And there's the piece that does all the work. Actual driver blade, the piston. So this is very similar to the Hikoki. Very similar setup. The teeth do look a little bit more beefier. And the same sort of piston on the end. The piston is a little bit different, it's not the exact same. The Hikoki ones are hollow. This has this big X hex end on the end of it. Don't know what the purpose of that is. But same sort of seals and all. So it has two nylon split seals here. And then the middle then an X ring. So this has to be a really good seal. This here is what actually has holding back all the air pressure back here. If this fails, air is going to get out past and the gun's going to get weaker and weaker until it needs to be regassed. But generally, the Hikoki one, never seen the seals on it actually wear out. Even though there's not even much grease in this thing, there's a little bit just a lithium grease on it. But that's it. Same as the Hikoki. Never seen the actual seals go. The pins eventually will wear out after several tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of nails. The pin won't actually break. These will all be fine. It'll be the very last tooth on the pin that'll actually wear out. So this is going to be driven back to compress it, and it's the last one that's going to be taking the maximum load. Eventually this will start to wear down until it just becomes wee nubbin and it's not holding anymore. Whenever it actually ratchets back, it slips and goes to the next pin. Still holds, but because the pin's that little bit further forward, the next nail coming up will actually be just pressing on the bottom of the driver blade instead of being in front of it to be fired. That's generally what happens. On the Hikoki one, the firing pin cost around 300 or something to replace. I think as we had to charge. Not 100% sure on that because it's been a while since I've done it, but I think the actual blade on it to replace it and the labour cost probably cost me 250 to 300 euro. But that's using the Hikoki one. The Hikoki is the same gun as the Metabo HTP, and the Metabo pin is actually a lot cheaper, which doesn't make a lot of sense seeing as it is the Hikoki. It even comes in a Hikoki bag with Hikoki number. Everything's Hikoki. Doesn't say Metabo on it at all, but the Metabo one, if you get it from them, costs about half the money. So if you have the old Hikoki gun and you want to change the driver, buy the Metabo part. It'll be a lot cheaper. It's cheaper. It's worthwhile doing if you buy the Metabo one. That's funny. That just spins around. Oh, it is actually threaded. That's why. Well, that's handy. Obviously, it doesn't need to be too tight, and it wasn't tight to begin with. And the Hikoki, like I was saying, when it first came out, this part was extortionate money. The rubber bump on the end of the Hikoki, the first generation, was about 40 or 50 euro just for this. And I did have a few of them coming in where the rubber had just perished and broken away. It was a problem, but I think Hikoki made that part cheaper eventually. We'll have to see what the new one comes in like. We'll have to see how much that one costs in Makita, because like any nail gun, especially pneumatic, these here do eventually wear. That's what's actually hitting the pin whenever the gun's firing, especially if you're using shorter nails, because these don't change the pressure inside. You can't adjust anything like a pass-through gun, the gas gun. It's the same pressure it's shooting with all the time. So if you're putting in a 90, it's most of the energy going into the 90mm nail. But if you're putting in a 50mm nail, it's still shooting with the same energy. So this here bump is what takes the force after it actually shoots. So eventually they can start to perish. We'll have to see how much that's going to cost in the future. So with the pin out now, these teeth out of the way, this here can actually come out. Now this is what's doing all the driving. This is what the motor is actually moving to move the pin back. And this is the bit I'm curious to see, because this is what the Hikoki sometimes needs a little bit of maintenance on. Like I say, on the Hikoki, these here teeth eventually wear out. What can sometimes happen is one of the pins on the driver, the gear system here, eventually wears or breaks and causes it to wear even more. So if you have one and it sometimes doesn't shoot a nail, it fires but no nail comes out, get it checked. If the pin's broken here, it's going to wear that there out very, very fast. And we have to just see which way the Makita works out in that, because this looks like a very similar system. So looks like this is held in by a little C-clip up here. Now I need to be careful which way this comes apart, because those two magnets here are what's going to be picking up on this little board, telling it where to stop. So there'll be two to say it's initially going past, and then one to say to stop. If they don't line up again properly, the gun's not going to function right. But I don't think you can put this together wrong. It actually has a wee pinhole it has to go through. So inside is a type of moly grease. Fairly messy. But you need grease in these things to make sure these pins don't wear out. So inside of there, put a spring in this as well. And your bearing here. So this is just the bit that's doing all the work, taking the main load. And it is quite nice looking, to be honest. It's a nice heavy aluminium plate up here held onto the housing. And this is onto a separate bearing again here. So it is secure enough, it's beefy enough. And this here does look big enough. Are these here replaceable? Because these are removable, yeah, on the Hikoki gun. So yeah, that's alright. So these pans can come out. So this is a separate steel piece with the pans put on. Are they all the same? Yeah. Well, that's a good thing or not. They look. They are all the same size. The Hikoki one did have a thicker one, a bigger one on the very end, just because that's the one taking the maximum load. These ones here are all the same size, but they might be just made a wee bit bigger compared to all of them on the Hikoki one. That's just going to have to be seen, tried and tested to actually be believed how good that is. It's only time going to tell how much work this is going to take. But I would say with the same setup, if you get one and find a couple of times and not putting it in nails, get this here checked, because you wouldn't want one of these to fail on you. So that is the actual mechanism for taking your pin back. This is what the motor's turning all of this, turning these here wee pins here. What it's actually doing, these rollers sit on these parts of the teeth, and as the motor turns, it turns this and ratchets, drives this firing pin all the way back, and then it stops here. This magnet will be telling the motor where to stop. Which is sitting there, then whenever you pull the trigger again, this will move as you actually clear this pin, and once it's cleared, then it'll actually fire. So it'll run all the way down again, shoot your nail, hook back onto here, and then drive it all the way back up again. So it's because this is actually running across this pin, it's always going to be taking the maximum load just there. So eventually this will begin to wear, no matter what happens. But like I say, these do a lot of shooting before that happens. Talking probably about 100,000 nails normally, 50 to 100,000 nails before you get any ball in these here guns, compared to like a Piston or any other brand. They just work constantly, all the time, fire every single nail until something wears out inside. And to be honest, I had a couple of boys in with the Hikoki ones, with the pin worn out, and getting the big bill to fix it, and they're basically just saying, not a problem, don't mind at all, which is a funny thing for any customer to say, just give me a new gun. The thing hasn't missed a single beat since the day they got it, and it's a big massive selling point. That's the Hikoki gun. That's what people like about them. There's no hassle, no maintenance, no servicing, no repairs, no nothing. The DeWalt's, there's no servicing them. Parts just constantly wear and need to be replaced. You're always needing to send it in somewhere to get it fixed up. The passive guns, you're always needing to get a service or something, getting it cleaned out. You have to do maintenance on it yourself. It can be a while lot of hassle. These types of guns just fire constantly all the time and never miss a beat till something actually wears out or breaks in them. Then you have to get them fixed. But till then, you have no problem. And that there is one of the first things you might have to get fixed. Replace these here pins or replace the actual firing pin itself. Now the warranty in this is actually 3 years. So I know different places, different countries will have different things on the warranties, but here in Ireland, the UK, it's a 1 year warranty with Makita tools, but you can register them online to extend that warranty to 3 years. So this is the same thing, which is a big deal, seeing as the DeWalt gun, this one here, comes with a 1 year warranty and you cannot extend it. So they do not cover the gun on the 3 year warranty. Once a year is up, that's it. They won't cover it. You can't extend it at all. It's only 1 year, and all the parts that wear out on the DeWalt are classed as consumable parts, so they're not covered under that warranty anyway. So basically, the DeWalt gun has no warranty. All the bits that you're going to need to get fixed, they don't cover. They consider it a wearable part. So these Makita ones, you do actually get the full 3 year warranty with them. Same as the Hikoki. That wouldn't be the biggest of parts. That on a Hikoki though does cost about €120, so ain't cheap, but it is a lot bigger. And it has the two wee prongs at the front that actually hold the probe down. you would actually feel on it. This one, it is a solid steel piece, but she's a wee bit light looking. Same as the actual head, the aluminium head. Suppose that's not taking any real load, but it just comes across as a wee bit hollow. Not sure if that matters at all. As aluminium, I suppose they can't have it too heavy because they're trying to keep the weight of this thing down. But they obviously didn't do that good a job because the thing still weighs a ton anyway. So far in this gun, to be honest, I can't see where they're getting the €700 price tag in this thing. Ain't any better than any of the other brands. That'll be an awkward bead bearing to actually take it out of there. What size is that one? That's a CHL. And it's a 6806 bearing. It's an oddball one, but one I probably still do have in stock in the workshop. And the probe then is just a simple probe. So he's just on a thread. It's an O-ring on the end of it, stopping it from coming off. It's a simple setup, but I suppose it does work. Sometimes when you get a more complicated setup, they can become very expensive. I know the Passlow, the new 360 one, the probe on that, if you break the part that hooks onto the yoke inside, you're onto about €120. And the probe itself could cost about 50 or 60 on the pass load. So this one ain't too bad. Just a wee metal bracket, a spring, and then a wee ratcheting boy on here. So you take out that nut, you pull out the center, and there's just a pin and a spring on the inside of this here then. Simple but effective. If you do take a drop and break the actual probe itself, that is easy to change. Right. Inside of this, folks, I can't see €700. There's no gold, there's no diamonds. There's just a few standard parts that are on a few other guns. I don't see where Makita is getting €700 for this thing. To be honest, it's a nice gun. It does fire really well. It has a nice feeling gun. No, it is heavy, but it does feel like a solid gun. But inside, it's just the same as most other ones. I don't see how we're getting the €700 price tag on this thing. Parts are nice. That is well made. It's just too expensive. Nah, this here is going to be the most expensive part of the gun, the controller. I don't know where they're getting the €700 price tag on this thing here. Now that's just here in Ireland, what I'm paying for it. Maybe that price is going to change in time. Maybe in other countries it's a different price. But for here, for us to buy it, it's very, very expensive. I just don't see how it can be so expensive. If it was 700 with the batteries, it would be a very good deal. It would be a good main competitor. But for 700 just for the body, it's way too expensive. And there's nothing inside to justify the price, to be quite honest. There's nothing on this I can say is going to be any better than any other brand. This just basically has to be tried and tested. It is beefier, yes, and there's better pins in it, and a better mount holding it, yes, but it's not so much better for that price tag. I don't know. I like the gun. I really would like to say it is fantastic, but now only time is going to tell how long they run for and how long they last, because at the end of the day, Makita have never been good for nail guns. Their gas gun was a disaster. Most of their nail guns have just never been good. The second fix gun, again, one of the most expensive on the market, but it's basically just an expensive Ryobi gun on the inside. Nothing good about it at all. Performance of it was terrible. At least this one is actually performing well. It is shooting. It is doing a good job, but it's just too expensive for all you're getting inside of it. I don't know what Makita's thinking. They should really be putting it out at a competitive price, competing with the rest of the brands out there. But at the minute, they're just not. It's good. It's just not €700 good, to be quite honest. But it will actually do the job. It will function. But it's still going to be a very heavy and very expensive gun at the end of the day. I'm going to get this thing back together here now. We'll also take apart the magazine because we want to see how this goes together, because eventually you'll always have to change the actual coil spring in these things. So we'll get it back together first, and then we'll have a look at that. So this is the learning bit now, or at least the remembering bit. So that spring was on there. So this side's flat and there's a chamfer here, or a step, so the step must be for this side. And we can still see the mark from the spring, so that must have been this way. Spring was down in there. A wee bit better than the Hikoki actually with that spring, so in other words it keeps these pins pushed back over onto the actual firing pin, the driver, so it engages the teeth better basically. So I suppose that is a better setup. That's a good strong spring as well. So that's on there. Does it matter what side that goes onto really? I suppose it would, yeah, because it has to be pushing into the pin. And this pin has to go into this bigger hole. That's not right for a start. Must be the other way. Try it that side. This is an important bit. It has to go on right because this has the position magnets on it. Yes, there's a tight fit. Squeeze that on. Your C-clip back in again. A very bad thing if you forgot that. Make sure that's in there. It'll be a real disaster for the gun. I try to keep this as clean as possible. We'll just slide the firing pin down. These are a tight fit. Make sure that is in. There we go. That's it in. Now this is the learning curve now. Making sure you put it together the right way and in the right order. That's not going to work. This has to be on first. I suppose this has to go on first actually. Alright, so that is sitting on there. These have to just go on together, I wonder. Maybe they do. Get one on to hold it. And then two other ones in. Finish it off. Yeah, fits better now. I do like that probe though. I like the way it's well grooved on. It's shaped to fit the actual guide here, look. And it's pinned on here as well. There's a guide back there, so it's actually quite well fixed on there. I do like that. And now we can fit the pin again. Making sure we put it in the right way. So the teeth have to be facing this way, and the groove on the underside is going into this groove here. So this can only go on one way. I'm just going to do this like the Hikoki. I do not know if this is going to be right or not, but it's the way I'm going to do it. This is the way you rebuild the Hikoki, with the pin forward, and then you regas it, then it compresses it more and you push it back. Guessing, I would say this one's going to be the opposite way around. The pin's going to have to be all the way back, and it's just going to regas the whole chamber to a higher pressure. But I just don't know yet. That's just what I'm guessing. So this is sighted as well. This top piece locates under there. So these have to go on the right way. Right. Have to do it the other way. Take the piston back without taking it out. You may even have to take it out again. That should be enough now. Take it back so we can drop this on. Yeah, has to be that way. Unless I push this pin forward now. I'll leave it like that for now. Right, now I'm going to still chance putting this pin forward. Don't know if I'm right, but I'm going to take a guess. After she shoots, the motor's going to turn this, and that's going to drive the pin back. And that'll be her poised to shoot. And that would be it free. So when it gets to that position, then the pin's going to fire. So this should move now without moving this wheel. So that goes all the way to the bottom. And then the next thing it does then is it re-grabs this here pin and drives it back up again. There we go. Right. Now, O-ring's still in place. Now watch way with this one on again. These both look the same. So they're almost sitting like that. And the valve is on top, so it's this way here. There's no pressurized, so if I'm wrong, I can still move this around. Right, this will be the tricky bit, I would imagine. Getting this back together. So this is going to be sitting inside of here. The gears are going to be on top. And these are the big gears because these are taking the maximum load. Maybe this isn't as hard as I thought. Should sit on like that. And these, imagine, just sit on here. Yeah, 3 large lugs up here and 2 big ones down here. This one's even deeper than that one. It matches up here, look. It has to go on that way. But getting these gears to mesh up for it to fit might be tricky. No, it's not. It's actually not too bad. I suppose it has to be because there's a big brass fitting. It has to be a wide area going onto it. We'll chance that anyway. The other thing is the wee valve fitting. We'll leave that to last to see if we've anything of the same thread for a compressor fitting to actually go into this to pressurize it. Right. That's the actual chamber done. The last thing actually was just this. This wee sensor. That needs to go back on too. Don't want to use a drill on this in case I crack the board. Right. So we have heat shrink on here as well because that's going over the top to make sure it doesn't rub on the wires. I would say even still over time, if that's rubbing enough, it'll eventually wear through it. But at least that is a replaceable part. So that's in there. Wire limb's going to come at the bottom. There we go. Right. That's that bit. I'll get this onto the body here first. Now we have to remember which way it all goes. So first off, it's this one. And there were 2 little fine ones for here. Sometimes the handiest way is to go to the end and just see how they fall. It's handier when they're actually molded already. So this is where the LED light goes. If you just let the wires fall in, you can just sometimes see where they're meant to sit. And also just look back over the footage. So see, it just folds down in there. Luckily I can just go through the camera again and see which way it showed, or which way I took it apart. I'd rather just keep on going here. Yeah, so they tuck down in there. Doesn't matter how long ago you actually took it apart, even when it was only 1 or 2 hours ago. Sometimes you can just never remember where these wires go. There and there, and this little switch is sitting in here. Now, which was which now? Mostly the one of the wee pin swivels must be up here. That's that one. And this one is for here. Don't know if that's right or not. Or would it be that way? No, it can't be that way. Maybe that way. Yeah, maybe for now. Wait to get the rest done and then we'll test it and see which way it fits. Right. That on. That's connected. And the motor, let's just drop it on here. Right, this is where it's going to show how well designed it is. It can actually go together well. No, it doesn't feel right. Try again. That's probably what it is. Yeah. Now it's sitting on here. And the motor's sitting square as well. And sitting down. So this here chamber, whenever we took it apart, was still a little bit slack. It was still twisting a little bit. So that must be what it is. There's actually a wee arrow. I don't know if that's a makeshift arrow or not. Maybe it is meant to be pointing to here. So this is over tightened the whole way around. It does line up here and it doesn't press into the body. So do watch that. Get the trigger back in, this awkward trigger. And then this. I take it I was right. Sits down on here. That's down there. Trigger goes in. Trigger pushes the spring pushes on the switch. It's a little bit, I don't know, makeshift looking. Doesn't really scream €700 of engineering, to be honest, but if it does the trick, then you don't want to just do the trick for €700. So that's sitting in there. Should be nothing catching. And lastly then, we have to repressurize this. So I'll see if I can do anything with this to get it repressurized, because to try it now before I put the cover on. Now this is just an absolute stab in the dark, because I didn't even take the Hikoki revalve kit with me to actually test it. Should have actually took it home with me, but I didn't. So this is just a wee bit of air fittings from a wee small compressor. So I'm going to try these. Not the same thread though, but it's close. So I'm just going to do a wee makeshift job. There's an O-ring on top of that. If I can get any sort of pressure onto this, that'll do the job. Now to pressurize it, I'm just going to use one of these jump starters, this Nebo pack. It actually has a bolt-on compressor, so I'm not getting the big air compressor running just for this. This will just have to do. We'll see if this will actually do the job anyway. I have no idea if this will work, but it's worth a try. It's all I have here at the minute, so we can just see what it does. So I'm guessing normal pneumatic air gun, you're going to be running about 8 or 9 bar, 8 bar at least. So I'm just going to guess and put it to 7 with the pin forward. We're losing too much air. We'll try a wee bit of plumber's tip on it, see if that seals it up any better. If this doesn't work and we can't repressurize it, it's no big deal. I knew from the start it didn't have this fitting. but I still wanted to get the video done here. Didn't want to wait till the actual fitting became available. That could be another week or two. So if this doesn't work, I will eventually get it regassed. Just might not be this week. Did that work? Actually didn't do too bad a job. It worked a little anyway. We'll go higher, because we're going to lose a little bit as it actually takes the fitting away. Right. That done something. I know I had this set to 9, but it won't actually be up at 9. It'll only be 9 coming out of here. A little bit less actually onto this. So we have pressure. I have to see if there's enough to actually fire it. And what does this half going like? Actually, the rubber bumps on there. That actually goes on a lot nicer than the cookie one. Oh, that's a lot better. The cookie one could be a little bit of a torture to get the cover on. That just drops on nice and smooth. No messing about. I like that. And the other thing I'm forgetting now is the top of this. Need to make sure this is on. Otherwise, no matter what air pressure you're putting on, it's eventually going to leak out again. Last few wee bits then. Just your rafter hook. Your belt hook as well. These aren't interchangeable, which some people mightn't like. It'd be handier if you could fit them either side. So if you're left or right-handed, you can actually still swap them over. And these must all be the same. Last thing before I test it, let's just have a look at this magazine. See how easy this is to get into. So it's just one piece of extruded aluminium the whole way down, and then there's a big gouge taken out of it here. So the only part should be up in the top. That's tight. One screw holds it on, a wee rubber bump. So that's just all one piece. And then just got your steel top then. And then this here is your magazine spring. If that just pulls out, yeah, same as a few other brands. So easily replace your magazine spring. That just drops on. And you can also change your nail stop. So once this goes up so far, this wee nail stop engages to jam it. So you can't plunge, you know, to actually change or put on new nails. So that's in there. There's just a steel pin going through here to hold it in place. And then there's another one straight down here. So you can prise that up. out of this here wee rubber O-ring. Pull that pin out to actually release this here lever and that one. And then the actual nail guide, then the wee handle is just one solid piece. Not so bad then. The main thing is that spring. You want that to be easy to be changed, because eventually, every brand nailer, them coils eventually give a wee bit of bother. Now, what was this one for? No, it doesn't look right. Yeah, it looks better. It looks much better. That's it. That is the whole Makita nail gun. I thought that magazine would be a little bit more complicated than that, but it's actually not. Just make sure that slides on right. Just slid onto this track here. And these ones are for up here. The long one is for the magazine. Take it anyway. Yep. And these two are for up here. This is nice and easy to get the magazine off anyway. Just 3 screws, never jam up. So that's it. That is the new Makita nail gun, fully dismantled, looked over and rebuilt again. And to be honest, I do actually like it. I'll not lie. Build quality is nice on the inside. I like the way she goes together. It is quite easy to work on. It'll be far better if they had a little port here for actually regassing it instead of taking all this here off. But at least it does drop together again fairly easily. It does go together a lot nicer than the first generation, like Cookie one. Can't comment on the second generation because I haven't worked at one yet. But I do actually like it. It's nice. It's a nice gun. It's got a lovely feel to it. It does shoot really well. It's nice and powerful. But it's not without its butts. Let's face it, it's just too expensive. It's too heavy. It's too late to the game, mainly. That's their first generation cordless nailer. It should have been out years ago. And it doesn't really come in a great box either. And it's just not come with batteries. And for the price that is, it really needs to be. I do like it. I would recommend it for somebody who has Makita batteries. But for anyone else, you'd only want to buy it if you just wanted the Makita one. You wouldn't be recommending this here over any other brand for no actual reason, because it's just too expensive to go out and buy on your own. To buy this here in Ireland with 2 batteries and a charger, you're going on to the guts of about €1,000. It's just not worth it. It might be a nice gun and well built. It's just not worth that kind of money, I'm afraid. Time will tell longevity, how good it is in the long run, because we can't tell that yet. We have to actually see what it's like in the field and how often they're coming in for repair. Mightn't see any for a long time though, because I can't see many of these here being bought and sold. But it's a good enough gun. I definitely would recommend it. Anybody has the stuff, anybody wants to buy it, I wouldn't put you off buying it if you don't mind spending the money. For anybody just wondering if it's better than the likes of Cookie or Milwaukee or something, it's not that much better. It's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to be just as powerful. It works the exact same way. It's just going to be a lot more expensive. And if you have to buy batteries and chargers with it, it's just going to be too much. It really pains me to say it, because I really wanted to like this gun, and I do like it, but it's just too expensive for all that it is. There's just nothing in it that really points out that higher price tag. I mean, the aluminium magazine is nice and it's good, but even the crappy DeWalt one has the same kind of aluminium magazine now, so that's not that big a selling point. It's good that it has it, but this here isn't that great. The build quality, I have to say, is nice. It does go together well, and I like the mechanism for taking back the pin. It does seem quite robust, but we're going to have to just see in the long run how long this is going to be running for, how often they're getting coming off the pair, just how long they're actually lasting. And I don't think there's any way to actually get this to tell you how many nails it shot, like the old DeWalt gun, which was a great feature. Anybody that left a gun on for a pair, especially for me, when they're complaining saying it hasn't done that much work, you can simply put a battery in, count how many nails it's shot, and turn around and say, sure, it's already shot 70,000 nails. It's doing great. Very good feature to have. I don't think these have it. I know the new Hikoki gun does have that feature, which is a big thumbs up for me. But this one, not sure. I would recommend it if you're looking for one. It is going to be good, but you need to be willing to pay that price, and you need to be able to put up with the weight, because it is heavy. Now, let's give a wee test here now to see if it actually does function after rebuilding it. And I'll just get a bit of a post here. I like the Hikoki, the pin's sticking out, so I have to get around the pin first to get her to actually prime. And that should be her primed. See, she actually fires now. Look at that. She does. Not so bad. Quite proud of myself. First time putting one back together again. And it works no problem. Even with a car jump starter to repressurize it. Not so bad. So if these things run out of pressure, you're not stuck. You can actually gas them. That's a good feature anyway. That's only a 65mm nail, so we'll test it with a 90. Now, also don't go by what I actually pressurized this to. I'm still guessing. I put a 9 bar. Hopefully it is up around 8. That could be too much. Do not go by what I'm putting into this thing. I'll come back to you later to see what it's actually meant to be. See how she does with a 90. Yeah. Actually still not enough. It does work, but I need to get a little bit more pressure onto it. So that's it, folks. The new Makita nail gun. It's expensive and it put me at a wee bit of money, but to be honest, I'm glad I actually got it to tear this thing down. I was interested and my curiosity is satisfied now. It was long anticipated, so I wanted to see what this thing's like. It was good, but it's just too expensive. The only other gun I want to see now is the Hikoki gun. Now, we've done this one and we've done the DeWalt. The other gun I wouldn't mind seeing is the new generation Hikoki gun. We've obviously seen the first generation enough times in repair videos. Not going to buy that though, simply because I'll let you know now, the fella for Hikoki, Matabo, was actually in the workshop to see me yesterday. Came around randomly just for a visit, and he was asking if we'd be up for doing any video collaborations with Hikoki, which I definitely would be up for doing. As you know, I would be a Makita fan. Most of my stuff is Makita tools. No shame in that there. That's what I always tell you. Other brand I would be interested in is Hikoki, simply for their nail guns and the fact that a lot of stuff has been sold, and anything I have looked at in the past, like the impact drivers, have always been very good, and the tools we get on for repair are very repairable, just like Makita. You can get all the spare parts for them, but I just don't get all that many tools and from Hikoki to repair to actually look through them. So definitely would be up for collaboration to see some more of their tools. What they're actually looking for is just a collaboration video for me to test out and do a couple of videos on some of their tools. And the way they left it with me, the way he left it, was just utterly completely up to myself. It's not going to be a sponsorship video, not going to be any payments for it. They're going to send in a few tools and they're going to leave them with me to see what way I want to work with them or what kind of video. So probably a teardown video or something like that, or a test out video or a review or something like that. And the reviews are going to be honest reviews, he also said too. It wouldn't be a forced review or forced script. Just going to leave the tools with me. He says, if it's a good tool and you like it, good job. If it's crap and you just don't like it, do whatever. You can still put it in the video. Doesn't matter what you say. It's going to be an honest review we're looking for you. So that's what it's going to be. So hopefully in the future we might get the Hikoki nail gun anyway sent in to test out. So I'm not going to buy it yet. But that's it. As always, folks, hope you enjoyed the video. This long Makita teardown video. I know it's been a long time coming. Hope you did enjoy it and hope we learned a wee bit of something from it. As always, folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a wee like and a follow down below to actually help out the channel. And if you have any questions on this as well, drop us a wee comment down below. And if you want to help out the channel, you can also become members here on YouTube or on Patreon and help fund videos like this here for teardown videos to see what tools are good and what's not. This one is good. It's just too expensive. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching. Chat to you all later.